Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. I've got a great video for you today. I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming with an important update as it relates to the supply chain and inflation that's affecting everyone in the US and around the world. In particular, I'm going to talk about the proposal that would be the biggest change to interstate commerce and the supply chain in decades. That's the changing of the age requirement for interstate truckers and what that would mean for you. The current problem is massive and it's only getting worse. Plus, at the end, a few grants for you. Here I am right here in Cheyenne, a couple days out from the Bay Area, headed to Des Moines tonight. Thanks to all of you in the comments sharing where you're watching from. Do it again today. Shout out to Suave from Winston-Salem, Bobby in Arizona, Shamika in Texas, Shelly in Ohio, Lori in Illinois, Tina from Kansas City, Brian from Florida, Howard from Arkansas, Kyle from New Jersey, Hans from Washington, Santana from Colombia, and so much more. Hundreds of you chimed in. Thank you so much. As you know, I'm covering grants as I pass through states, and I'll be planning my route on the way back based on your comments, either going the southern route or the northern route back from the East Coast to the West Coast. One more thing before I dive into the big news. We're closing in on an amazing milestone, 10 million views. Here's where we're currently at, 9.5 million views. We'll cross 10 million soon. Thank you so much for your support, watching our videos, and subscribing. We couldn't do it without you. Myself and our entire team appreciate it. Here's the headline from the New York Times a week ago. The biggest kink in America's supply chain, not enough truckers. It's a massive problem, does not get talked about a lot because we're often focused on the ports, the bottlenecks at the major U.S. ports from LA to Oakland, Savannah, Houston, New York. Those are the major ports, but we don't talk about all those goods once they're in the ports. The reason they're stuck there is because they cannot get distributed across the U.S. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of truckers as I make my way across 80 to Chicago, then 90 the rest of the way, seeing lots of truckers, but there's a major shortage in truckers. The American Trucking Association estimates that in 2021, the truck driver shortage will hit a historic high of just over 80,000 drivers. That figure is the difference between the number of drivers currently in the market and the optimal number of drivers based on freight demand. The driver shortage is most acute on the longer haul for-hire truckload market. The number one thing this report points to is the high average age of current drivers, which leads to the high number of retirements. In that New York Times article, they sum it up like this: truck drivers have been in short supply for years, but a wave of retirements, combined with those simply quitting for less stressful jobs, is exacerbating the supply chain crisis, leading to empty store shelves, panicked holiday shoppers, and congestion at ports. Warehouses around the country are overflowing with products, and delivery times have stretched to months from days or weeks. So as a result, there's been a lot of talk about lowering the age from 21 for interstate commerce to 18. Currently, someone who's 18 could get their commercial driver's license and drive the 7 or 8 hours across Wyoming, but you cannot cross the state line under federal regulations. So on November 3rd, Iowa senators wrote a letter to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to lower the age of eligibility. U.S. Senators John Ernst and Chuck Grassley are calling for more Americans to be eligible to obtain their CDL and operate CDL in interstate commerce. This would be the biggest change to interstate commerce in decades and arguably could fill that 80,000 driver gap that currently exists. Here's the letter those two senators wrote. They say, if this problem is left unaddressed, inaction to grow America's pool of truck drivers threatens to drive up shipping expenses, prolong delays, and burden already strained consumers with additional costs, aka higher prices for the things you need or want. Here's the example they give. Under current law, a 20-year-old truck driver could drive 363 miles in Iowa from Sioux City to Davenport, but that same driver could not drive 5 miles into Moline, Illinois. And they bring in the age statistics. In the 2021 report to Congress, the US DOT estimated the average age of a commercial truck driver is 48 years old, 6 years older than the national workforce average. Even more concerning is that the share of this workforce over the age of 55 has grown from 10% to nearly 30% in recent years, and an increasing large portion of this labor demographic is close to retirement. The shortage of truckers could exceed 100,000 by 2028. And here's another tidbit they've added. Those seeking an alternative pathway to an expensive 4-year college degree may find the 3-year gap between high school graduation, 18 years old, and the eligible age for interstate trucking, which is currently 21, inhibitive. It should be our policy to aid and encourage these capable workers. Of course, many of you may be concerned, we're getting 18-year-olds behind the wheel of 18-wheelers. The truckersreport.com puts in this image of a baby behind a steering wheel. But the fact is, under the proposal, under 21 drivers would be referred to as, quote, apprentices and face certain increased training and regulatory requirements. Apprentices must earn their CDL, commercial driver's license, complete at least 400 hours of on-duty time. Of that, at least 240 hours must be spent driving with an experienced driver, and a bunch more requirements. And this came out yesterday. House lawmakers urge the Labor Secretary to speed truck driver training program to ease the supply chain bottlenecks. Of course, these things take a long time to change policies, change the training. We would likely not see the effects of these until mid-2022 at the earliest. But the fact of the matter is, all of these forces, inflation, supply chain bottlenecks, are only going to increase if the truck driver shortage is the actual bottleneck. So more lawmakers are getting behind this. In fact, this latest one was a bipartisan group of lawmakers that urged Labor Secretary Marty Walsh to speed up the federal program that recruits and trains new workers. Approving applications can take weeks or months, even if they have experience with long-haul trucking. In fact, this piece goes even further to say the current economic troubles can be traced back to one thing, the truck driver shortage. Here's the quote: "A truck driver shortage in the U.S., coupled with a global economy emerging from the pandemic, has resulted in an uneven economic recovery for millions of American families. Unless we exhaust every possible avenue in which to address this crisis, we risk worsening supply constraints for manufacturers and rising prices on consumer goods." A Goldman forecast, like I said, says backlogs and elevated shipping costs are likely to persist at least through the middle of next year because no immediate solution for the underlying supply-demand imbalance at U.S. ports is available. That's why this age shift could be the biggest thing, but the assumption is that Gen Z would be interested in this as opposed to doing TikTok videos. So we'll see what happens there, but I believe we're seeing a major restructuring of what people are deciding to do, the work they're doing. I have a couple more days on the road. I'll let you know if I can talk to any truckers and get their opinion on this. Would love to hear what you think about this. The vast majority of the goods in your grocery store, supermarket, big box retailers come directly from these interstate truckers. Grants in Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, and Florida, because many of you said you are watching from Florida. So we've got a couple from Florida. I'm only going to pick out 2 for now and do the rest in the next video. In Florida, there's a $100K employee training reimbursement grant. There's a $500K small business loan through the Rebuild Florida Business Loan Fund, and grants up to $25K for Miami small businesses. I'm going to talk about these in more detail in the next video. Thanks for leaving your comments, hitting subscribe, turning on alerts, and giving this video a thumbs up. I'll keep you posted on this age requirement. If it changes and goes into effect, it's going to have a big impact on you. And if you want funding help for your business, I'll leave the link in the description, or go to eidl.me. A month and a half left for EIDL funding to level up, to get as much as you can if you want to stabilize or grow your business. We have one-on-one spots tomorrow, over the weekend, and next week. A very limited number. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.